Alright, well, here we are. I'm making some Happy Mail in this video, and there's not really a whole lot of making in this, it's just kind of a lot of assembly. I actually did spend some time doing a little bit of labeling because I did this live on my Twitch channel, and my voice was shot because I had had a gig the weekend before. I've been training at work and everything, so I was trying to kind of keep it so that I wasn't talking too much and just writing most of what I was doing down. So this is just some plastic packaging that I got from, I think it was a container of cards from Michael's. And I like to use leftovers for things, and I thought that this would be pretty helpful. I will say that it wasn't very easy to cut or keep straight. I didn't do a super good job of it, but I just wanted to, be able to use stuff that I already had around. I have some other plastic, I think, but I thought that this would work better. So what I did was I just cut it up, marked it, and then I cleaned it off with some isopropyl alcohol spray, just to get any residue off of it or anything that, might be left, or even just the little ink marks from where I marked it. My thought for these was that I would use them to wrap washi tape around so that I could send people washi tape. And I guess the idea with Happy Mail is that you're kind of basically sending people a little bit of art, maybe an ATC, but also you're sending them some supplies so that they can do things as well. And I decided to go ahead and make a video for this in case the people that got these wanted to see what I did. Now, the postcard itself is actually one of my art prints, and I have a whole bunch of different ones, but I figured they could either be used as a background or the person could just have the print. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to pick out colors that went with the print when I was doing all of the other stuff, whether it was the washi tape or a few of the other things that I added in here. And the original of this print that you see is actually, it's a mixed media, but it's mostly alcohol ink on Yupo paper, which it was a little bigger, so this one is a little bit smaller, but not by much. And it turned out pretty cool. I actually really like how it turned out on the cards because it's shiny just like the original, and the place that I get my printing from, they just do a really fantastic job. Anyway, as you can see, I'm just picking up some washi tape and wrapping it around the plastic bits, and I have a lot of washi right now, so I thought it would be nice to share it since there's no chance that I'm going to use all of it. And I just wanted to be able to send something because I hadn't sent any Happy Mail to anyone yet. I thought it might be nice. I went through the list of the people in the Pink Poodle Creative Playground group, and I picked a lot of people that had some similar interests to mine as far as colors were concerned. I think I looked for the word black because even though there's not a lot of black in this, I feel like these are all colors that go well with like black, turquoise, things like that. So a little update. I have been doing some fill-in gigs with my old band, and so I went to so I had 2 weeks, last week I had 2 gigs with the band, Friday and Saturday, and this weekend I had a gig with the band, and we ended up playing, but I found out ahead of time that it was going to be a boat club. And of course, anytime I hear the word club or like private club, I automatically assume there's going to be smoking. And sure enough, there was smoking. I'm not really surprised that there was smoking, but it is one of those situations where I wish that there hadn't been. It would be nice if there wasn't. Actually, the reason that I am no longer in that band is because they were playing so many smoking gigs, and I'd had so many problems with my throat. I was having tonsillitis and bronchitis and pneumonia, laryngitis. I got pneumonia so many times. Finally, my doctor was like, you're starting to get scar tissue in your throat. You're just going to have to stop doing gigs with this band. Wow, I had to stop this voiceover 2 times because I was coughing. My throat's really unhappy about last night. Anyway, I wanted to mention the gig because, like I said, we were playing a place that was down south in the southern part of Indiana. And yeah, I'm typing here. It's nice. Oh, goodness. Anyway. And I'm used to, like, people being kind of racist and stuff, like in different parts of Indiana especially, but all over the United States, depending on where you're going. And One of the first things that happened when we were there was I came in, and obviously it was really smoky, but I got finished with the first set, and I went up to bring some cans up to the bar because they recycled, and I was just clearing off our table to be nice, and I went ahead and brought the cans up to the bar. And the bar manager, he's like, motions me to come in the back, and I'm like, okay, and I like go in the back with him, and he's like, someone told us that they saw you doing cocaine off your fingernail. And I'm like, okay. I was like, well, I've never done cocaine. That's strange. And I told him a little bit about like my family history and how I had no interest in doing drugs like that. I mean, I've only smoked weed one time, and that was when I went to Canada. So I don't even, I was just blown away. And he said, well, I didn't think that it was true, but he said a lot of people there have drama and they like to make up stuff and like cause trouble. And I was like, oh, well, that's nice. And I'm like thinking to myself that it must be because my hair is blue, or who knows, or because I came in there with a Chinese guy, my boyfriend. So man, so it's still that part of the break, and I'm back at my table, and I've got some whiskey, and there's a guy sitting with us, and I don't know where he came from, but he's like kind of shooting the shit. And he said something, and he goes, well, blah, 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 and that's just like a cheap Korean hooker. And he's sitting right next to Brian, and my jaw just kind of dropped, and my eyes just like kind of went blank. And he's like, what? That wasn't a big deal. And I was like, you know what? I don't have enough whiskey to deal with this right now. And I went back up to the table, and I got another drink, and I was just floored. And the guy next to me, we were talking about something, and I mentioned something about beer and like how beer, is pasteurized and safe to drink. And then he starts going off on this tirade about how the reason that the North won the Civil War was because the Confederacy didn't have coffee and the North had coffee every day. And since they boiled their water, they didn't die of dysentery as much. And I was just like, this place is insane. Like, I don't, if people want to talk about that stuff, it's perfectly fine. And that may even be true, as far as I know. And so, I don't know. Oh yeah, I'm doing labels here, by the way. These are just postage labels that I did ink pen with, and some of my own ink sprays. So it's like 2 gel pens, a homemade stamp, and some ink sprays, and I just cut those into pieces. Anyway, back to the night. So I actually went to the guys in my band, and I'm like, hey, guess what? Somebody said that they saw me doing cocaine, and they were like, really? Like, yeah. I mean, these guys have known me for more than 10 years at this point, and they know that I don't do drugs. And even if I did do drugs, even if that was like something I was into, I certainly wouldn't do it at a gig where I was being paid like to play there. Like, I wouldn't do that. I mean, as it is, I try to like make sure I don't drink too much. Much less do cocaine. And I don't know, maybe they thought my fingernails were long and they thought that was weird, or who the fuck knows? I don't know. The whole thing was just insane. It was totally insane. Anyway, I don't know. And it's like when you're in a band, you have to like stay in a like calm manner and like be cool about stuff like that. And for me, it's really hard because in any other circumstance, if somebody said something racist around me, I probably would have ripped him a new asshole. And as far as the talking about the Confederacy stuff, I mean, to be completely honest, the way that I feel about it is that a lot of people died on both sides of the war. And, especially for like the South, people were fighting for something that other people had a vested interest in. I mean, most of the people that were fighting weren't the people who cared about the laws. They were people who were fighting because they had to. And to me, that's the sad part about it, because all that stuff's been coming up lately, and it's like, so many people died, and it was so much violence and so many deaths, and people, killing people in their own family, and that was like the big thing that everyone talked about. And I know that it sounds like I'm being like insensitive, but I'm really not. Like, it really bothers me that even now when we're going to war or something happens, most of the people that are in the war, they don't even know what it's about. They're just fighting because they have to, or because they happen to join the military and then they ended up in war. And this isn't just true for our country. It's true for a ton of places where the people who pay the price have no vested interest in the war. They have no vested interest in fighting. They have no vested interest in, being in Afghanistan, for example. And it's And, you know, I grew up military, so I know what that's like to like have your family just shipped off. And, you know, they don't know why or what the big deal is. And then they, you know, they get there and of course they learn and they may, you know, they may develop a vested interest in it. But for the most part, it's just up to the whim of the people in charge. And that's how I feel about it. And of course I couldn't have that conversation with the guy because I was busy. I was there, you know, as a band representative. I couldn't sit and talk to him about that kind of stuff. But I felt really bad about the other guy who mentioned the Korean hooker thing. That really like, that's the kind of situation where if we had been at any other bar and I wasn't there, you know, as a representative of the band, that person probably would have gotten cursed out like pretty big, especially since he was sitting next to my boyfriend. And I'm pretty sure that he said that for his benefit. I don't enjoy being in those kinds of situations. I mean, everybody was friendly enough to us and everybody liked the band and, you know, people were nice to me except for like the one person who, you know, said I was doing drugs or whatever. And I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. Like I didn't go in there with any expectations of how things were going to go. And I was nice to everybody and I went to the bar and I was friendly with the bar staff and I talked to everyone. And it was like, I just don't understand where that kind of crap comes from, you know, whether it's people assuming things about me by the way I look. And I mean, if people want to assume that, that's fine. Assume I do drugs, that's fine. You can assume I do drugs all day long, but you definitely can't go telling people that you saw me do them just because you don't like the way I look or because of the fact that I came in with somebody who's not white. So I just, it makes me uncomfortable. And people always ask me why I don't like going south or why I don't like leaving the house much. And really that's what it is. It's that feeling of, it's not that I am scared that something's going to happen to me. I'm scared that somebody's going to say something like that and I'm just going to snap and I'm going to say things and do things that I'm not going to be able to take back. And that makes me doubly and triply uncomfortable because then I feel like I can't trust myself in those situations. At least when I'm with the band, I know I can keep a pretty calm demeanor. Because I basically have to. I have no choice. And I try to like apply that to my life, but it's just really hard to do, especially when I feel people being attacked that are close to me. If somebody else in our band had gotten accused of doing drugs, I probably would have snapped. If it wasn't me, because like I know me and I'm not worried about it. Like I don't really take offense to people saying things about me. I don't actually care what people think about me, but that could have hindered the band being able to play there again if they wanted to go back. Now, I'm not in that band full time, so if they decide to play there again, I'm sure they will. You know, it's not a big deal. But for me, you know, personally, it's not a big deal, but for them, it could be a big deal, definitely. I don't care. People can say whatever they want to say about me. I just found it funny because, you know, if any of those people actually knew me, they would know I'm not like that at all, and that what they actually said was laughable. Anyway, so I decided to bag everything up, and I'm not sure why I did this. I think it was to keep it separated so that when I taped it all down to send it out, it could be kind of even in the envelopes, because I just put these in regular envelopes. And I went ahead and added a piece of paper of cardstock that I could just go ahead and kind of match the colors a little bit so that they had another thing. And it would also protect the image from the other things that I put in there. There's some little gemstones that I added. And on the watercolor paper is actually some distress type inks that I made using gouache and a couple of water-soluble inks so that it was like ink and pigment. And I went ahead and cut those up and added it because I thought it would be good, you know, a nice little contrast because there is a little bit of gold in the piece. Ultimately, I made 5 of these, and I think that they turned out pretty nice. One person already posted that they got theirs, and they asked me what the background paper was, and I assumed they meant my print, and so I told them what it was, and they asked if I could do a tutorial, and I suppose I can actually do a tutorial on how I do my stuff on Yupo paper, but I haven't done any of those on Yupo, I don't think, just live streams, so... Anyway, I hope I get my voice back pretty soon. I made myself some fat bombs with cream cheese and some coconut oil and some blueberries to help my throat a little bit. Those are actually really good for my throat. So I need to get back to doing my live stream pretty soon, and I've been doing Dream Daddy and trying to narrate all the voices. But I also have a demo I'm singing, and I have a demo that I'm supposed to be doing tomorrow, so I can't talk too much or I'm going to lose my voice for real, especially after this last weekend. The smoking gigs, man, they just take it out of me. in any place where they allow smoking like that, in a state where where smoking isn't allowed, every single person that's in there smokes, because it's like that's the only reason they even go there. They pay a monthly dues so that they can go there and smoke and drink, and the booze is cheap, but the main reason is so they can smoke. And so everybody was smoking, and despite the fact that they had smoke eaters, it was deadly in there. I want to burn my clothes, they're so bad. I did recover okay though, my throat's just hurting. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this video, and keep on looking for some other stuff. I've got more stuff in the works, but this one was a little bit easier to do because it's just a speed time lapse. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Thanks.